Okay, devs, the first thing we need to do is go to Google Chrome, then go to photopea.com, click New Project, enter 300 pixels per inch because we're going to print this. When we do print quality, we need to have at least 300 pixels per inch. 72 is just way too small. Then change pixels to inches. We need to make this document 8.5, 8.5 by 11 inches. If you want to, you can select a color for your background, or you can leave it white, doesn't matter. You can always go back and change it later. Click OK, and then click Create. Tools that we're mainly going to be using today are the eraser tools and transform. The eraser tools are located here under this little icon that is supposed to look like an eraser. Today I'm going to show you how to use the regular eraser, background eraser, and magic eraser. The first thing you're going to do is get some images that you want to use for your collage by entering things into Google. I'm going to go to Images. I find the image that I want to use. I make sure it's large enough. If it's an image that's too small, your image is going to be super pixelated, so try to choose something that's nice and large. And then I drag that onto my desktop. After you've dragged some images, you can also take a picture of yourself with Photo Booth if you want to use a picture of your face. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. I'm going to drag my first image over to the layers section here. Right now that image is behind my background. I want to make sure to drag it above my background so that it's sitting on top. Now I'm going to start using my eraser tools. I'm going to show you how to use each one. I am going to show you how to use the regular eraser tool first. To make your eraser larger, you can click on the icon here. You can adjust the size, and you can adjust the hardness. So a very hard eraser is going to give you hard edges. Oops, also, when you get this notification about rasterization, you're gonna click OK. We want our image to be rasterized. So click OK. An eraser with a hard edge is gonna give you a very, very sharp edge there. If you want a softer edge, you can adjust the hardness down to something lower. For this tool, wherever I tell that eraser to erase, it's gonna get rid of my information. So this is really good for going along a complicated edge to erase things. So to zoom in and get to see these edges a little bit closer, I wanna go to View, Zoom In. There is a shortcut for that though. So to make your life easier, use the shortcut. The shortcut to zoom in and out is Command plus and Command minus. So I'm going to zoom in quite a bit. I'm going to make my eraser small. I can go along all those edges of my plant to erase the background. But there is an easier way to do this that will be less time consuming. For the magic eraser, you can very easily select these areas that are clearly different from the object that you want to keep. Like for example, the magic eraser would be great to use on these inside sections where there's clearly a very, very dark color against a very light color. In some areas, this tool is not going to work very well. Like for example here, I did the background eraser and it erased my whole leaf. That looks messy, that's not really good graphic design skills, so we want to avoid things like that. When you make a mistake, click Command Z. That's going to undo the last thing that you did. I'm gonna go ahead and erase all of these areas of high contrast. I'm gonna see if I can get away with using the eraser tool down here. That did pretty good. On these little tiny sections with the magic eraser, I want to zoom in by clicking Command plus and then clicking those areas. Now we're going to try to use the background eraser. We're going to make our eraser a little bit larger. And we are going to use this with, whoops, frequent strokes. So you can see if I try to go in and erase this whole thing, if I mess up, then I have to completely start over again. If I click Command Z to undo, that erases all of my work. It's better to use short strokes and to continually click your mouse so that if you make a mistake, you're not losing a whole lot of work. You can see in here, this tool does not do too well on recognizing the difference between this tone of the leaf and this tone of the background. So what we can do is we can decrease the tolerance. We're gonna start at 20. That works pretty well. What that does is it allows the tool to only recognize mainly the color that I'm trying to erase. And if that tool sees another color, like this green of the leaf, it's not gonna erase that. It's gonna see that as not the background. It's gonna see it as something I want to keep. Some areas are a little bit trickier, so you may find that you run into some challenges and you may need to use another eraser. I am gonna decrease the tolerance here to see if that helps me with this area. It looks like that helps. Oops, this area in here is a little bit trickier, so I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna switch back to my manual eraser tool to get this little space in between the leaves. I'm gonna try to go right up against that edge. I'm gonna make my tool a little bit smaller to get into this tiny area. And try to work the eraser as close to the leaves as you can. It doesn't have to be like totally perfect, but we do want to practice good graphic design skill, which is being detail oriented and not being messy. Okay, last I see some little places where my magic erasers and my background eraser did not reach, so I'm gonna just manually go in with that eraser, the normal eraser tool, and erase those places where the tool had a hard time. Again, short strokes, so that if you make a mistake, you can go back and you won't have lost too much of your work. If you need to zoom into one particular area, you can switch to the arrow tool. That'll help you move your page up. Then you click on the eraser tool again to get that tool back. I'm gonna switch back to magic eraser. Oops. Doesn't always work the best. Sometimes you have to switch between different tools. Let's try the background eraser. Nice. Whoops. So we undo that, and then to get only that pot, I'm gonna decrease the tolerance to 20. I put my tolerance on my magic eraser down to 10, and that worked a little bit better. Then I can come through with my regular eraser really quickly and knock out the rest of what's here. So now at this point, we can move this thing around to wherever we want by switching from the eraser tool to the move tool. If you want to change the size of your objects, I'm going to show you how to do that. We are going to do free transform. So you're going to make sure you have that image that you want selected. Then you can do one of two things. To transform this image the slow way, you can go to Edit, Free Transform. Then you can make this smaller, you can turn it, whatever you want to do. To do that faster, you can use the shortcut. So if you forget the shortcut, it's going to be on the board. It's also here as a little reminder. The shortcut is Option, Command, and T selected all at once. So let's try it. I'm going to click Option, Command, T. Sometimes it acts a little funky, so you got to make sure that you click on the thing that you want first. Click the layer, then click Option, Command, T. And here we are. We can change the size of this. We can move it around. We could do whatever we want. That is the process of selecting an image, an object, and dragging it over to your collage, getting rid of the background, and moving it. You're going to do this until you have a collage built with objects that show your identity, objects and text. To add text, like we did for the last mini project, we're going to select the type tool. We are going to select our font. We're going to make the size really big. And we're going to change the color so that we can see this on our background. Make sure you click on an area of your background to make the type appear. To transform this text, you're going to select your text layer. I should say text layer over here. It will have automatically made you a new layer. And you're going to do the command, Option, Command, T, pressing those all at the same time. Then you can make your text bigger. You can move it. When you're done with transform, press Enter or press the arrow key here. The last thing I'm going to do is drag over my picture, my self-portrait. Remember, we want all the things that we're editing to be on top of the background and everything that we previously did. So we can drag that all the way to the top. I'm going to go to Layer, Rasterize first. Then I'm going to go back to my magic eraser tool and I'm going to start deleting the background. Since this is a complicated image, it doesn't do a great job of deleting all this crazy information here. So you may want to go back to the background eraser tool. My tolerance is already pretty low. It's at 15, so I'm going to see how this works. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go around the whole... Whoops, doesn't work that great there. Make sure you're doing short strokes. I'm going to follow in short strokes along the edges of my picture. Still not working great everywhere, so I'm going to change the tolerance to 10. Some of these things we can just erase by going in with the normal eraser tool. Also, if it's distracting to have your other layers, you can go over here to click the eyeball to turn them off and on. And then I can go in with a large eraser tool, just the regular eraser tool, and I can erase all the stuff around the edges of myself. Zoom in to get the details, move this image around to get to certain areas. After I do move tool, I'm going to go back to eraser tool, carefully follow the outline. I'm going to turn my layers on again. I'm gonna select my photo. I'm gonna do Option Command T to transform this. If you want one of your images to be on top of the other one, you're gonna move that image above the one that's on top. So for example, if I want my plant on top of my self-portrait photo, I'm gonna move and drag it over the photo. Then I click the move tool. I can move it around. I can do the transform to make this bigger, whatever you want to do. Okay, continue that process until you have the collage that you want. Try to make it fancy, try to make it show something about your identity, make it creative. We want to be able to look at this and see, okay, this is definitely your vibe, this is what they're about. Another really cool thing you can do is you can change the color of some of your collage pieces. So for example, I'm gonna click on my photo layer and I am going to go to Image Adjustments, and I can adjust the colors of my photo. I can adjust the contrast, make it more saturated. There's so many things here that you could use. Let's do color balance. You can select brightness and contrast and make it a little bit lighter. Anything that you don't like that you did, you can always go back and click Command Z.